So today I want to show you guys our 3 favorite rotator cuff exercises for athletes who we see that are coming to us for performance. Okay, so we got 3 of our favorite exercises for you guys, and they're some of our favorites because they're easy to teach, they're easy to do at the field, at the therapy clinic, at the gym, whatever the case may be, and they all use a band, one band. We're going to use some tubing in this. You can use TheraBand. You can use some of your bands. I've seen people using the Jaeger bands or some of the bands from the Texas Baseball Ranch. As long as it's not too heavy, something you could use for any of these exercises. So once again, they're easy to do, easy to teach, but you have to do them perfectly. If you don't do them perfectly, it's not going to train the muscle in the fashion it needs to be trained for your sport. So the first one is going to be a bilateral external rotation, and we're going to do it from a lunge or split stance. So I'll demonstrate a lunge stance first. I'm going to wrap the band around. You've seen a lot of people do this exercise, and I'm yet to see someone do it the way it needs to be done to train the infraspinatus and teres minor, the 2 rotator cuff muscles that we're focusing on with this exercise, the way they need to be trained. So you're in a lunge stance, back leg straight like you'd be when you're pitching, pushing your elbows towards the ground, and then I'm going to turn my wrists out, not letting my arms go out like this. So it's not an exercise that I do like this. It's an exercise that I do like this. So the point of this exercise is to train that infraspinatus and teres minor in a position to end range. So I'm going all the way to the end of the range of motion, keeping good posture, holding, coming back. You can see that my upper arm is like a perfect piston. I'm not swaying at all. It doesn't move at all. Rotation occurs right here. I'm pushing my elbows towards the ground, inhibiting upper trap, inhibiting the deltoid as best I can by pushing down in the socket, compressing down in the socket as I do it. So glenohumeral depression, going through a few reps. The range of motion is not big. It's about that far. So keeping my elbows in and doing it. That's number 1. Number 2, use the same band. I'll do like maybe 2 sets of 10 of that, depending on how you're doing it. If you're doing it in a warm-up scenario, I'm going to do less, maybe 5 to 8. Still making all the reps perfect. I'm going to stand on this band with the band coming out on the inside of my foot. I'm going to grab the band somewhat close, depending on how far forward flexed you are, closer. If you're up higher, you're going to work a different area of the range of motion, which is fine. You want to do both. So I'll demonstrate this one in a split stance. It can also be done in a lunge stance. We're trying to approximate positions that happen during the throw. So thumb down, rotated under, some internal rotation at the shoulder. Thumb rotated under. Why? Because that's what happens at the end of the throw. I need to use that range of motion. A lot of people ask why you don't do it in external rotation. You have to have internal rotation at the end of your throw, so you have to train that. You can't be expected to do it during your sport if you've never trained it. So here, reaching out as far as I can. I'm reaching out and lifting. I don't have to get super high. 80 degrees of flexion's fine, maybe 90. So I'm avoiding any pinch. If you have any pinch doing it, then you're going to stop before you get to the pinch, because you don't want to cause an impingement here. So I'm going up, reaching, back flat, chest forward. I can incorporate some thoracic rotation and then do it. So I'm lifting at a 45 like this. Empty can exercise, but it's actually more of a supraspinatus reach and lift while I'm in that lunge or split stance. So you've seen both the lunge and the split stance. I want to show you one that we do for subscap. It's hard to do subscap the way we want to do it at the field because sometimes the grass is wet. I have to use an external thing. I can use the fence, which is fine. So I just got it around this pole here. I'm here. I'm pushing my elbow towards the ground, shoulder blade pinned down and back. So I'm pinning down and back. As I go, I'm pushing my elbow out towards the attachment. So the angle here might be hard to see, but what I'm doing is I'm going like that, keeping down and back in the socket, not letting this happen. So I don't want to use my pec to do this. I want to try to isolate that subscap as best as possible. So I'm here and going out. The reason I push my elbow out like that is because I'm trying to activate a little bit of the posterior delt so I can reciprocally inhibit this pec. So I'm going out that way. Can be a difficult exercise if it's done properly. Just like all of these. They shouldn't be easy. If they're easy, you're not doing it properly. You don't need a heavy resistance. I've got a green band. My rotator cuff is pretty strong. I can use green. Most people will start them on yellow or even a red band, depending on how old they are, their strength coming in and things like that. So doesn't require a lot of weight if it's done properly. Always focusing on that proximal humeral head, where that humeral head is in the socket. Depress, retract, whatever the case may be, but I'm thinking about it the whole entire time, because if I do exercises without thinking about where that humeral head is and I allow it to get in a bad position, when I actually throw, I've now trained it to be in an improper position. And when I throw and it's in that position and then I cause an impingement or a subluxation, I'm going to be in a bad position where I'm going to have to go to the doctor or physical therapist or whatever the case may be. So always focusing on humeral head positioning, doing the exercises, trying to maintain perfect form on all the exercises.